My brothers and sisters, and I say that deliberately to every single person watching this, regardless of your background, your faith, your country, your history, I want to begin today with something very honest. The word Islam may be one of the most talked about words on the planet right now. It appears in headlines. It is debated in parliaments. It is discussed in classrooms, in living rooms, in comment sections, in documentary films, in political speeches. Billions of people have an opinion about it. Billions more have a fear of it, a question about it, a curiosity about it, or a deeply held misunderstanding of it. And yet, and this is what strikes me every single time, very few people have actually sat down and asked the simplest, most foundational, most necessary question. What does Islam actually mean? Not what people have done in its name. Not what the media says about it. Not what someone's relative told them at a dinner table. But what is Islam itself at its core, in its own words, in the words of the one who revealed it and the Prophet ﷺ who delivered it? That is the conversation we are going to have today. And I want to invite everyone, Muslim and non-Muslim, believer and skeptic, curious and convinced, to set aside whatever they came with and just listen. Because the truth about Islam is not what most people expect. And for many people, hearing it clearly and honestly for perhaps the first time will be one of the most significant moments of their lives. Let us start with the word itself. Islam. In Arabic, the word comes from the root salmam, the same root that gives us the word salam, which means peace. Islam linguistically means submission. Specifically, it means the peace that comes from submission. The peace that is found when you willingly, consciously, gratefully surrender yourself to the one who created you. Not surrender in the sense of defeat. Not surrender in the sense of giving up. But surrender in the sense of alignment, of coming into harmony with the reality of who you are and who your creator is. Think about it this way. Every single thing in this universe, the sun, the moon, the stars, the oceans, the trees, the animals, the cells in your own body is already in a state of Islam. Already in a state of submission to Allah. The sun does not decide whether to rise. The ocean does not debate whether to follow the gravitational laws set for it. The heart in your chest has been beating since before you were born. Not because you commanded it to, not because you set an alarm to remind it, but because it is in submission to its creator. It is doing exactly what it was designed to do, without resistance, without negotiation, without deviation. The human being is the only creation on earth who was given a choice. The ability to submit willingly or to refuse. The free will to align with the purpose for which they were created or to live against it. And Islam is the invitation, the divine, merciful invitation to bring the one part of creation that can choose into the same harmony with Allah that the rest of the universe already lives in naturally. This is why Islam is not a new religion. And I want to be very clear about this, because it is one of the most commonly misunderstood things about this deen. Islam is not something that began 1400 years ago in the Arabian Peninsula. Islam is the name for the one consistent message that Allah has been sending to humanity since the very first human being, Nabi Adam alayhi salam, walked the earth. Every prophet, every messenger, from Adam to Nuh, to Ibrahim, to Musa, to Isa, to Muhammad, peace be upon all of them, brought the same essential message, the same core truth, one God. Worship Him alone. Live by His guidance. Prepare for the life after this one. This was the message of every prophet. This was the Islam of every prophet. Not different religions with different gods. One message, one God, one truth delivered across. Different times, different communities, different languages, through different messengers. Each perfectly suited to their particular context. The Quran acknowledges Nabi Ibrahim as a Muslim. It describes Nabi Yusuf making dua to die as a Muslim. It records Nabi Isa saying he was commanded to be among the Muslims. Because Islam is not the name of a later tradition that contradicts or replaces earlier ones. It is the name of the truth itself. The eternal, universal, final truth, completed and preserved in its most comprehensive form through the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Quran that was revealed to him. Now let us talk about what Islam actually teaches, because here is where the gap between the reality and the perception becomes most stark. Most people who have a negative image of Islam have never actually engaged with what Islam teaches. They have engaged with what people who call themselves Muslims have done, which is a very different thing. Just as you would not judge Christianity by the Crusades alone, or judge any ideology by its worst practitioners alone, Islam deserves to be understood by its actual teachings, by its text, by its principles, by the life of the Prophet it was embodied in. The absolute foundation of Islam, the thing upon which everything else is built, is Tawheed, the oneness of Allah. The belief that there is only one God, that He has no partners, no equals, no children, no physical form, no beginning, no end, no need for anything outside Himself. He is Al-Ahad, the One, Al-Samad, the self-sufficient, the one upon whom all depend. This is not just a theological statement. It is a liberating one. Because the moment you accept that there is only one God, only one ultimate power, only one ultimate authority, only one ultimate judge, you are freed from every other form of enslavement, freed from the worship of money, freed from the worship of status, freed from the worship of other people's opinions, freed from the worship of your own desires. There is only one who deserves worship. And when you give your worship to the right one, everything else falls into its correct place. The second thing Islam teaches is accountability. And this is not meant to frighten, but to liberate. The belief that this life is not the final chapter, that there is a day of judgment, a day when every action, every word, every intention will be presented before the most just, the most knowing. A day when every wrong that went unaddressed in this world will be addressed with perfect precision. A day when every good that went unrecognized will be recognized with perfect completeness. This belief changes everything about how you live. It means your deeds have weight. Your choices have consequence. Your life has stakes beyond the 70 or 80 years of the dunya. And the person who genuinely carries this belief does not need an audience to do good, because they know the only audience that truly matters is always watching. The third thing Islam teaches, and I want to spend time on this because it contradicts so much of what people assume, is dignity. The dignity of every human being, every single one, regardless of race, color, ethnicity, social class or background. The Quran says we have honored the children of Adam, not the children of this tribe, not the children of this nation, The children of Adam, all of humanity have been honored by Allah. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in his final sermon, delivered to over 100,000 people on the plain of Arafah, that no Arab has superiority over a non-Arab. No non-Arab over an Arab. No white over a black, no black over a white, except in taqwa. In consciousness of Allah. Character. Not color, not tribe, not wealth. Character. This was said 1400 years ago. In a world built on tribal hierarchy, on racial stratification, on the supremacy of the powerful over the weak. And the Prophet stood and dismantled every one of those hierarchies with a single declaration. That is Islam. That is what this deen actually stands for. The fourth thing Islam teaches is justice. Al-Adl. And this is not just a social concept. It is a divine command. The Quran instructs the believers, and this is remarkable, to stand firmly for justice even if it is against themselves. Even if it is against their own parents, even if it is against their own family. Justice in Islam is not contingent on who benefits from it. It is not justice for my group and oppression for yours. It is justice as an absolute value, because Allah is Al-Adl, the perfectly just, and He commands those who worship Him to reflect that quality in how they deal with the world. The fifth thing, and perhaps the most misrepresented in the modern context, is that Islam teaches compassion, rahmah. And the very name of the Quran's opening chapter establishes this immediately. Surah Al-Fatiha begins with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, in the name of Allah the most merciful, the most compassionate. Before any command, before any law, before any description of reward or punishment, mercy. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said he was sent as a mercy to the worlds, not a mercy to the Muslims, not a mercy to the Arabs, a mercy to the worlds. Al-Alamin. All of creation. And his life demonstrated this in how he treated his family, his neighbors, his enemies, animals, children, the poor, the marginalized, the forgotten. There is a story, and it is one that I return to often because it tells you everything of a woman who used to throw garbage on the Prophet every day as he walked past her house. Every day, without fail. And one day she was not there. And his response, the response of the man whom this woman had been publicly humiliating and assaulting, was not relief. It was concern. Where is she? Is she unwell? And he went to check on her. She was sick. And he visited her. And it was that visit, that incomprehensible act of genuine care for someone who had treated him with contempt, that changed her heart completely. That is Islam. Not in a slogan, in an action, in a life. Now I want to address something that many people ask, particularly those who are not Muslim, and sometimes those who are, and that is the question of the Quran. What is the Quran? Because the Quran is central to Islam in a way that is unlike the relationship between any other text and any other faith. The Quran is not a book about Allah. It is not a biography of the Prophet. It is not a collection of stories, though it contains stories. It is the direct, literal, preserved word of Allah revealed over 23 years to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam through the angel Jibril, addressing humanity across all times, in all circumstances, in all conditions. It has been memorized word for word, letter for letter by millions of people across 14 centuries. a phenomenon that has no parallel in human history. No other text of comparable age and complexity has been preserved with such completeness, such precision, such living continuity in the memories of its followers. There are children today, young children, some not yet 10 years old, who have memorized every single word of the Quran, every single one, in a language that for many of them is not even their mother tongue. That is what this book does to the people who encounter it seriously. And what does it contain? It contains guidance for every human situation. It speaks to the individual and the community. It addresses grief and joy and confusion and certainty and doubt and faith. It contains accounts of earlier prophets whose stories illuminate the human condition across every age. It contains principles of justice, economics, family, governance, character, worship and relationships. And it contains, woven through all of it, a consistent, overwhelming, deeply personal invitation from the Creator to the created to come to Him, to know Him, to trust Him, to return to Him. And the challenge the Quran issues is one that has stood unanswered for 1400 years. It says, produce something like it. Bring 10 chapters like it. Bring one chapter. One. The greatest poets, linguists, and scholars of the Arabic language, people for whom Arabic was their native tongue, their art form, their entire cultural identity, heard the Quran and were moved to tears, not from sentiment, but from the recognition that what they were hearing was beyond the capacity of human composition. Not better than human, beyond human. In a category that has no human equivalent. Let me talk now about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself. Because any honest discussion of Islam has to include the man through whom it was delivered. And whatever